So you probably clicked on this video because you're scouring the internet looking for anything on how to make pistachio macarons. Well, this ganache will 100% work for that. But I want to show you that it's going to work in a bunch of other desserts. So I made this tart.
Let's talk about chocolate for pistachio ganache. We're going to want to make sure we get a white chocolate, not some sort of white classic baking chips. Those aren't real chocolate. You also want to take a look at the back and make sure that it says cocoa butter as one of the major ingredients. Now onto equipment. We're going to need 2 saucepans. One's going to have the heavy cream and the pistachio paste in it. The other one's going to have hot water. You're also going to need a spatula, a metal bowl, and a stick blender. And if you're following along with making a tart, you're going to want an extra bowl, a tart ring, along with a sheet pan you can put it on, a whisk, and a bench scraper, along with a fine mesh sieve. Oh, and don't forget a rolling pin. I'm going to list the ingredients for the tart dough down in the description, along with all the other ingredients that are needed for this full recipe. Okay, to make the dough, whisk your room temperature butter until creamy, then sift in your powdered sugar, and then whisk again until fully incorporated. Then add your salt and your eggs, and whisk again until the mixture is smooth. Then add in your flour, and whisk until fully incorporated. Once the flour is fully incorporated and becomes a dough, turn it out onto a work surface, and work until smooth. Then wrap in plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator for around 2 hours. So we're going to make our pistachio ganache. I'm going to add my pistachio paste into the pan, along with the heavy cream, and mix them together. Then I'm going to add my white chocolate to a heat-proof bowl. And we're going to put both those on the stove. The white chocolate's going to go over a pan of warm water. And we're going to want to get both to about 95 degrees. And just keep stirring them to make sure nothing burns. Remember, this is chocolate, so it's going to melt pretty easy. Especially with white chocolate, it's much easier to melt. And I decided to add a little bit of green powdered food coloring into my pistachio cream mixture. And once they're both at 95 degrees, we're going to add them together, take them off the heat, and then stir until smooth. And then if you're following along making the tart, I'm going to make a chocolate ganache next. We're going to add our chocolate chips to a heat-proof bowl, and then add our heavy cream to a pan. Then again, we're going to bring them up to 95 degrees, making sure to stir frequently. And then once they're both warm, we're going to add them together and stir. Now we're going to want to put both those ganaches in the refrigerator to cool. And that's going to give us a chance to finish our tart shell. Now we're going to finish our tart shell. We're just going to need to add some flour to our working surface and butter our ring. We're going to take our chilled dough and roll it out until it's about 1 inch bigger than the size of our ring. When you're rolling out this dough, just make sure it doesn't get too warm. My kitchen's really warm, so it wound up being kind of a problem when I wound up adding it to the ring. But that's okay, just pat it into place. You can lift up the sides slightly and make sure to get the dough fully in the corners. Then roll off the excess dough. Make sure to go back over the sides. We're just going to want to cut the extra off with a knife. Now put that in a freezer for about 20 minutes to firm up. Then you're going to add it to a 325-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. Once it's fully cooked, we're going to smooth the top down with a microplane, and then on to whipping our pistachio ganache. Now you want to take your stick blender and just whip the ganache until it's nice and smooth. And you can probably do this with just a whisk, but I find the stick blender to be easier, so that's why I use it. And you're aiming for a consistency just like this. We're just going to assemble our tart by adding a chocolate layer in the very bottom. Then we'll add a layer of the pistachio ganache on top of that. And we're going to marble them together slightly. Just want to fill it and then add some lines for contrast. And there you have it, that's my pistachio ganache. Now you can watch this video on how to make pistachio paste, along with my other pistachio recipes, or this video on how to use leftover hamburger buns.